Hey everybody, welcome to this edition of Caregiver Coffee. My name is Matt Estrad. I am a gerontologist in the greater New Orleans area, and I've been partnering with the Council on Aging in St. Tammany for over 6 years as a caregiver support group facilitator. So glad that you joined us today. Our topic today is going to be caregiving books. Most of them are about dementia, but the first one's going to be about just general aging and caregiving. But there are many books that I like, but these are 4 books, maybe 5, that I really enjoy and want to tell you about them in case you want to get them. So we'll get started in a moment. Just want to briefly tell you about the caregiver support groups, and I'll give you more information about that, more details at the end. So we've been doing this for 6 years. We meet on Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Right now, it's still because the senior activity centers are closed. We are doing this in a virtual format, so people can join us through their computer with a camera, or they can use their smartphone using the Zoom app, or you can even use a non-smartphone or a landline to do just voice only. So I encourage you to check that out, and I will make sure that my contact information is in the description so that you can contact me if you are interested in finding out what the dates are and how to join us for that. So let's get started with this topic of caregiver books. The first one is called How to Care or Caring for How to Care for Your Aging Parents. So, and this is almost like an encyclopedia. So this is over 600 pages. But I will tell you that it is excellent. It's something that we recommend to people in the clinic where I work at, the hospital where I am, and it's just a great resource. It's for anybody who is aging, and it goes through medical stuff. It's going through psychological stuff. It goes through finances. It goes through legal. It talks about insurance, Medicare, Medicaid. It talks about when is it time to consider moving out of your home into a care community. So it covers so many different things. It's talking about how to choose a nursing home when that's if that's right. Talking about depression, talking about bodies, your body as it ages, arthritis, cataracts, all these great topics that even if you're an older adult, you may not know about a lot of these things. And certainly if you're a caregiver and you're caring for a parent or a spouse, this is a great navigator through a lot of the different hoops that one must go through, especially with the paperwork, the legal, and the financial, and that kind of stuff. So it is How to Care for Aging Parents. This is the 3rd edition, and you can find this. I bet you could find this at a local bookstore, and of course you can find it on Amazon. So that's book number 1. The next book is about dementia or memory, cognitive impairment, memory impairment, where it's disabling and it's stopping you from living a normal life, whether you're working or retiring. It's Loving Someone Who Has Dementia by Pauline Boss. And this is I think written in 2012, and this talks about this idea of ambiguous loss, and you see this many times in caregivers and even family members who are not involved in care when someone is living with dementia. Basically, ambiguous loss is an unclear loss that people can feel because they're grieving their loved one who is still alive. So let me say that again, or state it a different way. The person that they're grieving is physically there with them, physically alive, but psychologically they're different. So it's a presence and an absence at the same time. And for people that like many of us that like to see things very clear, black and white, and we want to define a problem because then we're going to solve it. Well, no one can solve dementia, at least not at this point. So it's how do we cope with all the different things that are going on? So when there is an unclear loss, when there is an ambiguous loss, at least 2 things can happen. This is how it manifests and how it can be an issue. When somebody's experiencing ambiguous loss, they might sort of freeze in their coping. So a caregiver might feel that they can't or they don't feel like being proactive when they're feeling ambiguous loss. And many times it's diagnosed as depression, and sometimes it can be, and that should be taken seriously. But it could also be an ambiguous loss. The other thing that may strike someone when they have ambiguous loss, or how you might be able to see it manifest, is that they may keep others sort of at an emotional arm's length. So kind of keeping away, not visiting, not wanting to have a deep relationship. And this can impact people with dementia. This can impact people who are the primary caregiver. It can it can also, I believe, impact friends and family members. So if you're like many families that or many caregivers where friends and family, they're not visiting as much, perhaps, I really think that's part ambiguous loss. Ambiguous loss also takes a look at and asks the question, or shows confusion with this idea of who's in the family and who's not in the family. And of course you would say, okay, well, if somebody's a brother or sister, aunt, uncle, mom, dad, they're in the family, but are they really thought of as being in the family when there's an unclear loss like this? So this book is Dr. Boss's, this is as a result of almost 40 years, as of now it's 40 years of pioneering this idea of ambiguous loss. There's a therapist book for professionals. This is for the rest of us who are not in the therapy field. So it is a deep book, but it's one that I found that when people start getting into it and learning about the coping skills, they realize I might have ambiguous loss, that they may have ambiguous loss, and identifying it is huge. That brings some clarity, and reading the book and looking at the coping skills that Dr. Voss outlines in here can help a tremendous amount. So we can't do anything about dementia, right? But we can start to do things for ourselves and by ourselves, for ourselves, and this is I would say it's a coping book, and something I highly recommend. Loving Someone Who Has Dementia. The subtitle is How to Find Hope While Coping with Stress and Grief. And if you have any questions, or you have books that you want to recommend, please leave a comment. Please send me an email. We'll have all the information. The next book you've probably heard of before. It's called The 36-Hour Day. And this is this is also the third edition. This is by Mace and Rabins. And this is one of those books that people usually are very quick to refer or to recommend to people, because it is sort of like the other book that I showed, the How to Care for Aging Parents. Just like that's an encyclopedia for gerontology, for geriatrics, for caring for any older adult. This is the encyclopedia. This is the version for dementia, because the other one does talk about dementia, but this one is primarily about dementia. And it from cover to cover, it is 300 pages. It's very dense. There's a lot of topics in here. Whenever I recommend this book to somebody, because I do, I let them know that it's going to cover everything in there. It's going to cover issues that will never come up with your loved one. And so it's best to look at it in that way. So what you want to avoid doing is looking through here and saying, oh my goodness, my loved one is going to have hallucinations, at some point. That may never happen. If they have dementia with Lewy body type dementia, that could be, that's highly probable. But if they don't, the chances of them developing visual hallucinations is not that great. So, but that's just one example of something you can look in here and start to worry about something that may never even happen. So as long as you have that caveat, I think it's a good idea to take a look at this book and check it out. The 36-Hour Day, 300 pages, and I like that you can kind of flip through it, and you can also go through, like an encyclopedia, like I called it an encyclopedia. You can go to the topics that interest you and are applicable to you at that certain time. All right, the next book is My Two Elaines, because there are two Elaines. There's the Elaine before Alzheimer's disease, and then there is the Elaine with Alzheimer's disease. And it's a really important book because it's written from the perspective of a care partner, Marty Schreiber, and it's So it's important because it gives us insight as to what a caregiver, a care partner might be going through, and also it provides a lot of great advice and a lot of practical advice that he discovered. Now, every case of dementia is different, but he shares a lot of good wisdom, and there are a lot of books actually written by care partners that explain the lived experience, give you some insight, and also give you some advice. So it's but this one. This is one that I read about and then eventually got and read it, and I really enjoyed it. So I can recommend this one very highly as something you can look at. It was also interesting because it's from the perspective of a male caregiver. More caregivers are females. I believe it's 2/3. So this gives a especially unique thing. So especially if someone is a husband, is a friend, is a male care partner, then this is a book I think that you'll truly appreciate. But even if you're a female, I think that you really will get a lot out of My Two Elaines. So go ahead and check those books out. So that is we talked about My Two Elaines. We talked about the 36-hour day. We talked about loving someone who has dementia, and we talked about how to care for your aging parents. So those are 4 books, 4 of many books, great books that are out there that I recommend. And I hope that even just these 4 are going to be helpful to you. Remember, check your local bookstore, and then of course if it's not there, you can also get them on Amazon. So consider those, and let me know what you think. So do you have books that you have other books about aging and about dementia that you recommend? Please leave them in the comments, so then I can either get them and read them myself or pass them along, those ideas, to other people. So this is part of being a community, part of being part of the Council on Aging in St. Tammany community, when we help each other out and we suggest things like this. So in closing, the caregiver support groups, they are on Tuesday evenings from 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. If you've never been in a support group, I encourage you to send me an email and I can tell you what it's like. But basically, it's fellow caregivers. Some people are actually not active caregivers anymore, but they've enjoyed the group as care partners, and when their loved one has passed, they still come and join us because we've become a family, and we're always looking for more people to learn from, and for us to impart some of the lessons that we've learned on this journey as well. So if you're interested, send me an email, or you can even contact the Council on Aging in St. Tammany, their office on Ramos. They can get you my contact information. They can send you the calendar, and it'll have all the dial-in information for joining us in a virtual setting. So I hope this has been helpful. I hope that you have a great rest of the week, and take care until the next time we're together on Caregiver Coffee with the Council on Aging in St. Tammany. Bye for now.